What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a movie that is a little bit older now, but I'm talking about it because one of you recommended it. One of my viewers, Samantha, who always has really great recommendations, watches a lot of horror, thriller content, recommended this movie. I had never heard of it before, and I looked it up on Letterboxd, read the description, and it sounded really fascinating. And sometimes, there's movies that have been on my watch list for forever. But every now and again, I will read a description of a film and it immediately captures my interest and I want to check it out. And this movie, really simplistic concept, but all the reviews I read of the film, it sounded like what people really appreciated about it is the execution and the atmosphere that the movie was going to bring. And so I was really excited to check this out. It's streaming on Tubi for free right now. And the movie I'm going to be discussing with you today is Most Beautiful Island. Most Beautiful Island is directed by Ana Asensio, chronicling one harrowing day in the life of Luciana, a young woman struggling to make ends meet while striving to escape her past. As Luciana's day unfolds, she is whisked physically and emotionally through a series of troublesome, unforeseeable extremes. So I was really excited to check this movie out, reading the plot description and reading some reviews early on. And what I will say is I think I respect the approach to this movie and what it's trying to go for more than I actually enjoyed the experience of watching the movie. And that's not to say that I don't think that the film is worth viewing, because I completely and totally believe that this is worth your time watching. I just think there are elements of it that could have been restructured and a lot of scenes that could have been redone to make the film more effective as a whole. And I'll talk about that when I break the movie down. So this movie has a very, very simple premise. At the beginning of the film, we are introduced to Luciana, played by the director, Ana Asensio, and she is living in New York City, and the beginning of the film is literally just us watching her day-to-day life. And as an immigrant in New York City, she is struggling to hold down a job, get enough money to pay her rent. She's jumping from job to job just to acquire enough money to live her day-to-day life. We see her going to a doctor and telling the doctor that a friend recommended her because she doesn't have insurance and doesn't have the money to pay for a doctor's appointment. And so we get these little snapshots early on of the struggles that she's dealing with. And she eventually meets up with her friend Olga at this coffee shop, and the two of them start talking. And Olga says, "Hey, I have this job that I go to every now and again, and it's crazy. You dress up in this dress, you show up here, and they pay you like $2,000 for one night to just go stand while these people have a party." And Luciana can't believe it. She essentially reacts in a way that she says, "This makes absolutely no sense. I don't really believe it." And she says, "No, seriously, you can take the job for me, go do it and you'll make the money." So the entirety of the film hinges on Luciana's character being able to get a dress, go to this place, work at this party, and make this money. And so the entire film is us watching her through this series of events, getting to this party and what unfolds once she gets there. So as I said, I really appreciate the approach and the structure and the style of the film and what it is trying to accomplish more than I really enjoyed the experience overall. I will say I think the director slash actress, her performance in this film is great. I think she's really dedicated to the role. I think that she has a lot of quiet moments. She has to do a lot through her facial expressions. And I was really impressed with her role in this movie. I thought that she was great. And I can only imagine being the director and also starring in the role and just how much it would take to just make sure things were going effectively and also delivering a performance that complements the material. I really like the way this is shot. I know there's a lot of people who were complaining about the cinematography and oh, it looks cheap, blah, blah, blah. But I think it really captures the raw and real essence of living in New York City and just kind of the chaos of the film. This is very high anxiety. The movie feels a lot like the Safdie brothers' Uncut Gems, where around each and every corner something is happening, and it's just this putting yourself in a circumstance, realizing how bad you need something, and then how difficult it is to achieve getting that thing. And setting those stakes and building that anxiety is what this movie is really so effective at. And I think that the way that the movie is paced, the sound design that accompanies those sequences makes you as a viewer really uncomfortable. And I appreciate the director's decision to pay attention to all those little details. And I was really really on the edge of my seat through most of the movie. Where my issues fall are, I think some of the early moments in the film feel a little bit too padded for me. There are a lot of sequences that I get are trying to showcase our lead character's struggles as an immigrant and what it's like dealing with that in a city like New York. And there are some scenes that are very effective, and there are some scenes that are a little repetitive, to where I feel like if we streamlined a little bit and got to the ending, the third act, where everything is really starting to blow up, if we had more time in those moments, I think the film, for me personally at least, would have been a little bit more effective. The beginning is a little too meandering and sticks around for a little too long, to where it was less effective. And I do think the third act, a lot of this movie's success is going to be if the third act works for you or not, and where it goes. And obviously I don't want to give away where this movie goes or what happens, but for me, I didn't guess exactly what it was going to be, but I had an idea of what was going to happen. And I think because of that, a lot of the anxiety leading up to the reveal in that third act moment, it was a little less tense. And I do think the actors in that moment are giving really solid performances to elevate that anxiety for you as a viewer. And I think that there's a lot going on there that works. But unfortunately for me, I've watched a lot of movies in my life. I've seen a lot of this before. And so the shock value wasn't really enough for me to be like, wow, this is really gripping and like really kind of getting under my skin, to where something like Uncut Gems, there's something about that movie that just the sheer violence that's showcased in moments throughout the film and the allusion towards violence makes every scene feel more weighted. It feels heavier. It feels like it sits with you longer. Where in this movie, there's not enough of it to really sit and feel that threat, especially in the third act, in a way that's like as palpable as a film like Uncut Gems. And that's not to say that I don't think there are moments that feel incredibly anxious in this, because I do. I think there are a lot of moments that made me feel sick, especially like in the middle portions. There's one scene in particular, not even affiliated to the third act, where she's late picking up these kids from a school. And honestly, that was one of the most anxiety-inducing sequences of the entire film, just the way it's shot and what happens with the kids. And it just left me completely and totally on edge. And I appreciated that a lot. But the fact that that struck me more than the third act says something about the film overall. And I still think this movie is worth watching. I don't want you to think that I think it's bad by any means, because I don't. I think, especially for a director who's acting as the lead in this, it's impressive. And there's enough here that makes it worth at least one viewing experience. There's just a lot about it in my own head that I would have changed to make it a more effective experience overall. So have you seen Most Beautiful Island? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie had a lot of really great ideas, and I really liked the approach. It just wasn't effective for me overall as a whole film. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.